This is an Extra 106.3 podcast. To hear more live and local content like this, tune into 106.3 FM or download the Extra 106.3 app. Extra 106.3 and a Second Chance Bail Bonds are proud to bring you Justice Unfiltered. Real conversations with real people from every side of the justice system. From the latest in law and order to the voices of those impacted, changed, and working to make a difference. This is where truth meets transformation. Now, it's time for Justice Unfiltered, presented by a Second Chance Bail Bonds on Atlanta's only conservative news and talk station, Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra 106.3 app.
Welcome to Justice Unfiltered on Extra 106.3 with Daniel Madelon, the CEO of a Second Chance Bail Bonds and a Second Chance Monitoring. My name is Tug Cowart, and today we have Judge Kellie Stevens-Hill, Superior Court of Cobb County. And she was elected to a second four-year term in 2024, a native of Jersey City, holds a bachelor's in art degree from holds a bachelor's of art degree in international relations and a concentration in international business from University of Pennsylvania. Got her Juris Doctorate at Rutgers University School of Law. Judge, wow. That's impressive. I'm a three-time college dropout. So anytime I see somebody with credentials like those, I automatically am impressed. And then just your background, the fact that you serve your community so well, it is an honor to have you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It is my honor.
Yeah. And then we've drugged Jeanette in. Jeanette Vanderlinden?
Linden.
Let me pick that up. Jeanette Vanderlinden, a attorney for Excel Restorative Court, which we're going to get to, and is a very helpful confidant and friend to the judge. So thank you for taking the time to come in today.
Thank you for having me here.
Especially when she had no idea, Judge.
She had no idea, but she never knows what's going to happen when she's with me.
That's right. Trial by fire is what's happening. But it's being here at Dickey Broadcasting in Cobb County, the way we are here at the Brave Stadium. Having people from Cobb County Superior Court is an honor to be able to talk to you, talk about the things that are going on in the community, and especially when the people that are listening right now are constituents. You know, there's people that live in your community and thrive in your community, or doing well in your community. Is there anything that you would say to them, that you have for them, especially knowing that you're kind of the top of the ladder when it comes to the court system?
Well, it's interesting. Thank you again for having me. What I'd like for our community to know is that their Superior Court, in fact, all of the judges in Cobb County, every level, state court, magistrate court, juvenile court, we all work very hard, and our primary focus is to make sure that we keep our community safe.
Yes, ma'am.
At the end of the day, that's what we want to do. But we also want to make sure that we do so in an efficient and an effective way. And one of the things that we really need to focus on, and it was one of the motivating factors for me when I started a diversionary court, which I'm sure we'll talk about later.
Yes, ma'am.
But it costs a lot of money to incarcerate people. And we have to recognize that, we can't incarcerate our way out of what's happening in our community. So being, I want to say creative.
Sure.
Is something that we have to think about, and it's something that we're doing now in Cobb County, at least through my court and through the other accountability courts, where we have come up with alternatives to incarceration, but in a way where we're making sure that we're doing so that people are getting treatment for the services that they need and can come back as, I want to say, responsible individuals in our community, as opposed to being a plight on our community.
Sure.
So that I hope our citizens know and understand just how hard we work to make sure that they stay safe, but we save our citizens tax money by trying to do something a little more productive.
It's a bit of a win-win.
It is a win-win.
Yes, ma'am. Daniel, I'm sure you see this on every level, all through Metro Atlanta and the other states that you operate too, but Cobb County is probably special.
Yeah, it's definitely the backyard, so it's definitely special. But yeah, no, giving people solutions, to help, provide second chances. All those things are part of who we are, our identity. So yeah.
Yeah, Judge, it's easy to yell, scream, and holler. It's easy to complain. It's not always easy to come up with solutions.
You're right. And I can tell you, change is not always something that everyone is open to.
Sure.
But it's something that, quite frankly, I'm always very passionate about, trying to figure out how do we do what is best for our community. And sometimes it means doing something that's a little different than what we've been doing in the past.
Yes, ma'am. How's that been accepted?
I'm going to show you better than I can tell you kind of girl.
All right.
So that's what I've been doing. And we're now in year 5, doing something just a little different. And slowly but surely, I think we're showing our community that it works.
I love that. I love that.
It's incredible. What they're all doing over there is remarkable work.
Is there anything that stands out to you, Daniel, from your background, your point of view that they've done that maybe others haven't?
Well, I was a part of it for the first time last year.
Okay.
And then I actually attended the graduation, so I was there for the entire graduation. It was incredible. And
when you say graduation, what do you mean?
So basically, and I'm going to let the experts tell you exactly what this is, because I would be doing them an injustice by trying to tell you what it is. But what Excel Restorative Court meant for me is we were able to identify that it was such a critical time in people's lives, and the second chances that they're providing, it couldn't have aligned more with the core values of a second chance, and me personally, more than anything in the world. So what Judge Hill is doing over there is phenomenal, and I couldn't be more proud to be part of this program. So
that's awesome. I see a big smile on your face, and I understand why.
It's my passion project, and I'll tell you, you just talked about my background. I went to the University of Pennsylvania. It's the home of the Wharton School. Quite frankly, I thought that I was going to be a transactional attorney. That was my entire path. I always knew I wanted to be a judge, but I was going to get there a different way.
Okay.
However, my passion found me. I worked in big law up in New Jersey right out of law school. I started as a summer associate the second year of law, and I realized that as much as I thought that would be the path for me, and as much as it was the coveted job, quite frankly, of those folks that I went to law school with, I rotated through several departments, corporate, litigation, and tax departments. I thought I was going to be a tax attorney. And I was also going to jet set. I was going to fly the world, close deals, and make a lot of money.
Sound like the way this sounds already.
I'm liking it.
That's what I want to do, too.
That was my plan. Nobody ever could have told me that, quite frankly, I was going to end up being a career prosecutor for the majority of my life. But when I worked in big law in New Jersey, I realized that was not the path for me. I was not going to be happy there. I wasn't going to be fulfilled. But if I was going to live in New York and New Jersey, I had to keep that job because I would not be able to afford to live up there otherwise.
No kidding.
And this was back in the late 80s when I decided I'm just going to pick up and move. I didn't really have anything holding me, and I packed up.
That's brave in and of itself.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. It was going to be Washington, D.C., or Atlanta, Georgia, or Texas. Those were the 3 places. And ultimately, I found myself in Atlanta. I came to visit for just 1 week, and Buckhead was everything at the time.
Well, that was a happening. That was a happening spot.
It was a happening spot, and I just decided when I went back home, I'm going to pack up. I'm moving to Atlanta, and I'll be in Buckhead.
And they know how to have a good time down there.
Here I come.
Yeah, that's right.
And quite frankly, that's what I did. I packed up, graduated, and packed up several months later, moved down, and realized that as much as I thought that I was going to just flow into the practice of law, I realized Georgia was a little different than New York and New Jersey. And this was back in 1989, 1990. I couldn't get a job. And part of it was, I needed to sit for the Georgia bar. But ultimately, I was young, I was a female, I was African American, and I was a Yankee.
That last one.
I was a Yankee.
And I married a Yankee, so we go back and forth about just traditions and the way things are done there versus here.
It was very different.
Yeah, sure.
And I realized it once I got here because
my wife's a New Yorker.
I had never been really to Georgia. So when I got here and I recognized just how different it was, I had to do what I had to do. And quite frankly, I worked through a temp agency. I was a receptionist for a law office. I set up appointments for carpet installation. And ultimately, I worked for a marketing research firm that hired me out from the company. And I cold called people and set them up for focus groups. And it was while I was speaking to a lady on a focus group, she happened to be a legal recruiter. And she was hiring a receptionist for a small law office over in East Atlanta. And she invited me to come and interview. And I decided, well, it's probably better to be a receptionist in a law office than to work in a marketing research firm.
Especially with your background.
With my background, exactly. So I did, and they hired me, and I worked as a receptionist for about 2 weeks when they said, all right, we're bringing you on the other side of the glass.
I have a feeling we're underutilizing you right now.
So that's what happened, and that's how I got my first start here
fascinating. That's
in
such
Atlanta.
a cool story.
And it was a personal injury firm.
Okay.
So I worked in a personal injury firm thinking, oh, great. I get to negotiate deals, and I'll close out cases. And one of the partners said, no, you're going to litigate. You should be in court. And I said, no, that's not my personality. I don't want to be a trial lawyer. That's not for me. And he goes, no, you're going to court.
No.
And
so this is not an ask. This is not a request.
That's exactly right. And they partnered me with the trial lawyer who was in the firm and who tried cases. And I sat and watched him. And ultimately left with him to set up my own personal injury firm.
Wow.
So I did that as a young lawyer. And then the same partner from the PI firm said, listen, if I can get you an interview, will you at least go and talk to the solicitor? And I did over in DeKalb County. And they made me an offer. After thinking about it, I said, okay, I'll commit. He asked me for a 3-year commitment, and I did. I figured I'll go in and learn how to try a case. And most lawyers don't try cases. I'll distinguish myself, and then I'll go out and make that ton of money I was going to make. And I did. I started working in the solicitor's office as a misdemeanor prosecutor. And that's how I got my feet wet, and that's how I found my passion. I never left the courtroom after that.
How about that? Fulton and DeKalb counties is where you worked, transitioned from magistrate court to superior court.
Yes.
You got to earn the public's trust there. You got to be elected. And when we come back, we'll get on to that subject with our guest on Justice Unfiltered, Judge Kellie Stevens-Hill, Jeanette Vanderlinden, and, of course, Daniel Madelon of A Second Chance Bail Bonds and A Second Chance Monitoring. Next on Extra 106.3.
Now back to Justice Unfiltered, presented by A Second Chance Bail Bonds on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Welcome back to A Second Chance Bail Bonds. A Justice. Man, I am all of a sudden. I've been up since 3:45, so y'all have to.
Oh no,
excuse
that's
me.
not good.
You must have little ones.
You need coffee.
No, the morning he does
I
live.
do the morning show here.
He's live.
So I'm on hour 7. It's the end of the day. All right, here we go. In 3, 2. Welcome back to Justice Unfiltered on Extra 106.3 with Daniel Madelon of A Second Chance Bail Bonds and A Second Chance Monitoring. My name is Doug Coward, along with our special guest, Judge Kellie Stevens-Hill and Jeanette Vanderlinden, who is an attorney with Excel Restorative Court, which we're going to get to. But I want to start back, Judge, with where you left off. You were in the Fulton County and DeKalb County offices. And you then never left because you had planned you were going to be a private attorney. This was the path that you were on, and then all of a sudden things changed.
Things did change. I started out doing misdemeanor work, and that was in DeKalb, and I got an offer to go to Fulton County. Mm-hmm. And the Fulton DA, Lewis Slayton, courthouse is named after Mr. Slayton now, but Mr. Slayton offered me a job. And I decided that I'd go learn how to try some felony cases, but I still had not quite accepted the fact that I'd be a career prosecutor. And I worked for Mr. Slayton until he passed, and then Paul Howard came in, and I worked for Paul for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And ended up as the director of his public integrity unit, as well as lead counsel in some of our high-profile cases, including the courthouse shooting case where Judge Roland Barnes was murdered along with the court reporter and sheriff's deputies. But I was the first prosecutor assigned to Judge Barnes when he was appointed to that seat. So it was personal.
Sure.
And it, quite frankly, I say it took about 10 years off my life. And I think that's when I realized that I probably needed to shift gears, but I left Fulton County, but I just went to DeKalb, and I tried a couple other cases, and ultimately I did leave, and I went back into the personal injury field as the managing attorney. So I did that only for about a year when I realized, well, again,
Did you miss it? Did you feel like you missed?
I kept thinking that, those millions of dollars were still out there waiting for me.
That's right.
That's right. You had to still get it.
Yeah.
There's a Gulf Stream with my name on it.
Correct. It was just waiting for me. And so I went back, but after a year, I realized this just isn't fulfilling to me, especially having been a prosecutor and forming relationships with families and people who had major losses in their lives. It's kind of hard to get excited over money when you have represented folks who have lost loved ones or who have been victimized. So I realized that, quite frankly, it just wasn't going to be my path. And ultimately, I was setting up the Kellie Hill Legal Group. It was going to be my own practice, and I was going to do consulting work. Consulting with lawyers who tried cases as a trial consultant, but also as someone who was training law enforcement. It was right around the time that community policing became a big deal. And as the director of public integrity, I investigated every single law enforcement shooting in Fulton County, from Chattahoochee Hills all the way up to Milton. So if their guns were discharged, it hit my desk, and I had to decide if it was a good shoot or if it was going to go to a grand jury for an indictment.
Investigated.
And we ran the gamut. We did it all. So I was training law enforcement, and cell phones became a big deal. And I was telling them how that was going to change the way they had to police.
Everything.
And it was also at the time that you turn on the television, and every time you turned it on, there was a different black male who was being shot and killed by law enforcement. So it was just a perfect transition for me to go in and actually work on cases as a consultant, but also train law enforcement. So I was able to do both sides. In fact, I even went up to Maryland and met with the DA in Baltimore, who was prosecuting a case, on a young man who it was a death in custody. So I had a chance to do a lot of that. And just as I was setting up and getting the flow of my law practice, a few judges in Cobb County decided that they were going to retire. Now, I didn't know that I was going to be a prosecutor, but I always knew I wanted to be a judge. And when those positions opened up, they opened up on state court, which is our misdemeanor court. And I ran for state court in 2016 here in Cobb. So you got to remember, I worked in Fulton, I worked in DeKalb. I never worked in Cobb.
There has to be some overlap, though, right?
Well, there really was not.
Okay.
Most of the folks did not know me, and I didn't know Cobb County, although I lived in Cobb County, and I had always lived in Cobb County. But when I was campaigning, folks would say to me, "So when did you move to Cobb County? You're an Atlanta lawyer." And I said, about 25 years ago.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. I've been here the whole time.
Yeah, pay my taxes here in Cobb as far as I know. But I did get to tell them, I know you don't know me, but you do know my work. And I got to talk to them about some of the cases that I had tried as a prosecutor. And that's where I think I got folks to at least go and visit my website. And they did. And there were 6 of us in the race. All 5 of my opponents were Cobb County lawyers, and then there was me. So of the 6 of us, 2 of us made it to a runoff. I did not win that race. John Morgan, who's a state court judge, won that race. And it was probably the best thing that ever happened to me.
Isn't it interesting how in life that can be the case?
Yes.
Some of the things that you feel like are your biggest failures or something that you fell short of actually puts you, maybe it's the good Lord, puts you in a place to be as successful as you, because you weren't in the right place. That wasn't the right job.
That's exactly right. It was not the right job for me. While I thought it was not. But I did, while I was campaigning, I got to meet our chief magistrate at the time, who was Joyette Holmes. And 3 months after losing that election, I got a call from Joyette saying, listen, I just got a new position approved for a full-time magistrate judge. I'd love to offer it to you. And that's how I got my start here in Cobb County, as a full-time magistrate judge. And because of my background, I did a lot of the felony probable cause hearings, a lot of the felony bond hearings, and then ultimately she decided that I was going to be the judge to handle the TPOs, or temporary protective orders. And those are cases, I call them divorce light. Those are the cases where, folks are asking for protection from the court, but oftentimes they're in the middle of a divorce, which is probably 60% of my caseload here now in Superior Court, handling domestic cases. So it was a perfect training ground for a Superior Court position. And it was one of the family lawyers who said to me, you're going to be our next Superior Court judge. And when they said that, I said, from your lips to God's ears. And after 4 years, I served in magistrate court. After 4 years, we had 2 Superior Court judges retire. And after a lot of prodding, because again...
You were reluctant.
I was reluctant because I had already declared a campaign for state court again, second time. And I got phone calls and folks said, you need to be in Superior Court. So I switched from a state court seat to a Superior Court seat as a candidate and ran with one opponent. And I'm always happy and proud to say I won every single precinct here in Cobb County.
Look at there.
For Superior Court.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so cool.
Thank you.
I bet there's not many people that can say that.
No, there aren't. But
I had a feeling. It seems like a pretty impossibility. It seems like it'd be so tough. I mean, I know lots of people that run for many different things, and every one of them have lost. I mean, and they've bounced back and they've done other things. Yes. It just wasn't right for them, just like the first job wasn't right for you, or actually the first few jobs weren't right for you.
Correct.
And then you found where you're supposed to be.
They weren't right for me, but quite frankly, they put me where I needed to be.
Absolutely right.
And it helped lay that foundation that I needed to ultimately be where I am today, which is the perfect job for me.
There's not many people can say that.
I love my job.
I bet if we went out to the battle, we went right next to Truist Park because we're 500 yards from it, and we asked people, do you have the perfect job? Do you love your job? I bet we would get less than 50% that would say, yes, I'm in the perfect job. I love my job. Unless they play for the Braves.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Unless we run into the team bus, we're going to run into a lot of people that aren't in that situation. But you've seen the justice system from so many sides, prosecutor, defense attorney, and now a judge. How does that, do you feel like, influences you in the courtroom?
What it does is it allows me to be the neutral that I'm supposed to be.
You have the blindfold on.
I've got the blindfold on. I know the way it's supposed to work from the state side. I know the way it's supposed to work from the defense side. And I now know the way it's supposed to work from the bench. So it has given me, I think, sort of a neutral way to see what's happening in the courtroom and, quite frankly, call balls and strikes, which is what I'm supposed to do. But it has also given me the opportunity to be creative and figure out, what is the right thing to do in this particular case. And every case is a different set of circumstances. Every case, while it may be the same charge, may have a different outcome just because of the facts and circumstances, and it allows me the opportunity to figure out what I think is best in a particular case.
Let me brag on Judge Hill just a little bit, because I have a feeling that she probably won't, so I will take the honor of doing so. Been featured on Court TV, Dateline, 48 Hours, probably heard some of those things. that seems like a lot of pressure, to have things that you're doing be under that kind of publicity. But I would imagine that it probably invites extra scrutiny as well.
It does. After a while, you kind of forget that the cameras are there. Because I'm working.
Yes, ma'am.
And when I get the phone calls and said, hey, how many days are you going to wear the ponytail? I'm like, this is not Law and Order. I do not get hair and makeup.
That's right.
I'm working.
That's right.
Quite frankly.
And shame on whoever called you and said that. Shame on them.
It was my cousin.
So she might have been looking out for you a little
yes.
bit. Okay.
But I'll tell you, pressure came in the courthouse shooting case. One, primarily because I had asked my boss not to put me on that case. Because as I shared earlier, I was the lawyer who was assigned to work with the judge when he first took the bench. And had developed a relationship. We'd go have coffee. But for the fact that he was having a civil hearing that morning before he started his criminal case, I may have been having coffee with him that morning. But it was just the pressure that I didn't want to have. And my boss accommodated me until 30 days before trial when he asked me to go in and take over.
That seems even more difficult.
Well, I think that was the first time I really felt the pressure. One, they were already setting up the TV cameras and, all the different TV outlets were there. And I was trying to get up to speed on the case, quite frankly, because it wasn't my case and I wasn't following it. And I learned about it just like everyone else, which is by watching the news. So to have to get caught up to speed and lead the team, I felt the pressure. I did. But at the same time, my mantra, and my team will tell you this, was to never let them see us sweat.
I feel like that's a commercial or something.
We were going to go in there.
If it's not, should be.
It was. I think it was secret.
Secret, yes.
It was secret. But we're never going to let them see us sweat, and we're not going to have one bad day.
Right.
We are not going to have one bad day in court, and we're going to go in, and we're going to be the professionals that we are.
I mean, wow. That's a bold thing to try to do. First of all, not let them see sweat after you have to run the race of getting caught up. But then to never have a bad day, I don't know how you do that.
It was, I'll tell you, it was just, we worked nonstop. We started that trial in the summer. It was in June. And we did not conclude until December. We were picking a jury Monday through Saturday, which means Sunday was the work day to get ready for court. And it was nonstop. But we put in the energy, the time, the effort to make sure that justice was served in that case.
Congratulations on that. Congratulations on everything you've done so far, because your story is quite extraordinary. I think anybody listening now is probably going to your website, back to your website. You know what I mean? It's like, who is this extraordinary person that lives in our community, that lives in our neighborhood, that's doing all these things that you've been able to accomplish? But then we're going to fast forward a little bit, because then there's the Excel Restorative Court.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Tell me the vision behind it, and what is it that it serves? How does it serve the community? Well,
I think our accountability courts have been around long enough now that people know we have drug court and we have mental health court and veterans court in Cobb. And those courts are state-mandated accountability courts, which are amazing. And they serve needs that we have here in our community. But I noticed that we had a gap in our community. There was a community that was not being served, and that was our youth. And any of us know, if you listen to the news, a lot of our violent crimes now are being committed by youthful offenders. A lot of, what's happening are being committed by those kids. So what we have put together is a diversionary court. It's not a state-mandated accountability court. We are diversionary, which means our kids don't plead into the program. We catch them usually right after the charges. And if they are 17 to 25, nonviolent, without a criminal history. And in this instance, they have to be assigned to Judge Hill's court. Although I'm happy to say I've gotten a few of my colleagues now to send some of their cases.
Which is smart, seems like to me.
And so what they do is they are screened by our district attorney, who has agreed to do that. They send them to me for an interview, and I interview each one individually. And the reason for the interview is there's a huge carrot at the end of this program. It's a year-long court-mandated program. But at the conclusion, their charges are dismissed. And they get a real-life second chance.
Do they know that going in? Do you tell them that, or do you hold that until the end?
No, I do. I tell them that.
Okay.
And here's why. In the interview, and I'm already looking for things, but I don't want somebody who's just looking for a dismissal. I want someone who genuinely wants to take advantage of a second chance.
How do you pick that out? What are the attributes of someone that might be in that situation?
Call it discernment.
Okay. Sure.
Maybe, or maybe I've just been doing this long enough now to
Sure.
know when somebody's trying to pull the wool over my eyes.
Of course. Life experience is valuable.
Yes. And generally, I get a pretty good feel. And sometimes, I might be on the fence. And then Jeanette will say, well, Judge.
Jeanette Vanderlinden, who is attorney for Excel Restorative Court.
Correct.
Our guest that I've addressed a whole bunch, but now you're going to get to actually hear
Correct.
from her.
We're bringing her in.
That's
because
right.
then she'll say, well, Judge, now, maybe we should give him a chance because, and I'm like, Jeanette, I'm just not feeling it, but.
I'm all about the mitigation. So prior to the meeting with Judge Hill in an interview, and the defense attorney is always there, by the way, because we never talk about their cases, so their due rights are always protected. Their due process rights are always protected. But fortunately, once they get identified by the prosecution, I'll reach out to the defense attorneys and ask them if I have talked about the program, ask if I have permission to speak with their clients, and then I'll talk with their clients about the program, what it looks like, what they need to do, can they commit, can they not commit, what they gain, what they lose. It's an amazing program in the sense that they don't have to live in the state of Georgia to go through this program. Just the crime had to be committed in Cobb. So we have kids who've graduated that live in Florida, Tennessee, North Carolina.
South Carolina, Alabama, I bet.
They can go anywhere.
Around.
They can go anywhere. 34 kids have had their lives changed and had their cases dismissed in the past 4 years because they went through this program. And so Judge Hill is right. This is a phenomenal program in that it gives them the true second chance. But it is an invitation-only program, and that invitation comes from Judge Hill in that interview. And we usually conclude the interview with, well, Judge, what do you think? Should they be invited? And then she makes her decision right there.
Sounds like a game show.
Yeah, and so
Judge, what do you think?
Well, because they need to know that they are seen, that they are worth it, that they have purpose, that someone believes they can do it. And I think some of them haven't heard those things or thought those things about themselves, and knowing Judge Hill thinks those things about them is essential.
Having somebody believing you is, I've seen it with my own kid. The difference in him when he thinks I believe in him and I support what he's doing, and he's in college now, and I can still see it happening. If he thinks I believe in him or his mother believes in him, I mean, it's full steam ahead. If he feels like that we're waffling, he will waffle.
It makes a huge difference. And oftentimes, when they get it from us, it's the first time anybody's ever told them that. Sometimes I realize all they really want is a hug. They just want somebody to hold them accountable and to care about them.
And that's another thing. Holding people accountable, sometimes that is treated as if it's bad. Like the word discipline sometimes is treated as if it's bad. And what you're saying is exactly what I agree with. It's not. Having accountability is a good thing for each and every one of us. It doesn't matter how old you are.
Yes. And I tell them, listen, you can come in and you can enter a plea and go on probation. That's fine. But spending a year with me is probably worse than a year on probation. Because
Absolutely.
I really do hold them accountable.
I'm going to make it hard on you because I like you.
100%.
Or I love you.
100%. And as a result, we see transformed young men and young women.
Judge Hill, I want to talk about those success stories when we come back in the final segment here on Extra 106.3 with Justice Unfiltered, those success stories, the challenges that you still see there. And then there's maybe a little moment that'll put a smile on everybody's face. Next on Justice Unfiltered with Daniel Madelon. He is the CEO of a Second Chance Bail Bonds and a Second Chance Monitoring here on Extra 106.3.
This is Justice Unfiltered, presented by a Second Chance Bail Bonds on Extra 106.3 FM and the Extra app.
Welcome back to Justice Unfiltered on Extra 106.3. My name is... I can't even talk at this point. I can't even say my own name. I got everybody else's name right, but I can't get my own right. In 3, 2... Welcome back to Justice Unfiltered on Extra 106.3. My name is Tug Coward, along with Daniel Madelon. He is the CEO of a Second Chance Bail Bonds and a Second Chance Monitoring. Our guests this morning, Judge Kellie Stevens Hill, Superior Court of Cobb County, and Jeanette Vanderlinden. She is an attorney for Excel Restorative Court. Successes, because everybody wants to know, how well is this working, Judge? Can you give us some of that?
Absolutely. I'm very proud to talk about the fact that we've had successes. We see these kids come in January, and they are totally transformed in December. And we do a risk assessment to try to figure out where the needs are and what their challenges are. And those challenges are met throughout the year. So by the time they graduate and finish, quite frankly, we've had some go on and go to college.
Love that.
He started his own LLC.
Okay.
With a box truck company.
Let's
Absolutely.
go. I love it.
We've had a young man
moved to the clerk of court's office as soon as he graduated. He was actually from our very first graduating class.
What do you mean he moved to the clerk of court's
After
office?
our very first graduating class, once he completed, it was called Project Pinnacle at the time, but once he completed the program, once his case was dismissed, his mugshot was taken down. The clerk of court actually offered him a job, and he started working for the Superior Clerk of Court. Immediately, he went from a garbage truck to working in the clerk's office.
And that job offer
So
happened
amazing.
literally after the graduation ceremony. She was one of the observers, and she offered him a job that day.
Much like you, when you just have that inclination,
Yes.
this person has exactly what I'm looking for, and I bet they don't even know it.
Correct. They don't know it. They absolutely don't know. We had a young man who was on his way to med school when, unfortunately, he had a mishap.
Life happens.
And life happened.
Just a speed bump.
But you know what? He went on, he completed our program and decided that med school wasn't quite the course for him. He got his master's, and now he keeps us informed with the very lucrative job that he has as a consultant in the tech area, doing things that are way over my head.
Absolutely. We've had young women who have gone into the healthcare programs, who have been accessed by some of our community partners in the past. I'm actually still get information from the folks. They send me messages. They always ask me to do job referrals for them or do reference letters. And we've had kids go on to college. We just had a gentleman go into the Navy after finishing the program, right?
I'm a Navy man.
He was waiting. His recruiter was there waiting for him to sign the paperwork as soon as he graduated.
And the interesting thing is, he decided to do that after we took the class on a trip to the National Guard facility.
Okay.
And they got to learn about all the different opportunities.
Before we get to the big smiley face that I think everybody will agree that is the cherry on top, the bow, all of that. Judge, how did you get Jeanette involved?
Well, I requested her.
Okay, all right.
Jeanette is a defense attorney, and she came before me in court quite often. When I was speaking with our circuit defender at the time,
Scott Halperin.
Actually, it was Scott, but also Randy Harris, and told him what I wanted to do. And I said, but I've got to have somebody who can be there to protect these kids as well. I'm not going to talk to them about their cases because if they're not successful, I'm going to be the judge to sentence them. And I said, and I know the perfect person. So the circuit defender actually kind of agreed to allow Jeanette to be my defense lawyer for the program. That's how I got her, and we've been together from day one, hand in hand, neck and neck. She's
fighting the good fight.
She's fighting the good fight, and quite frankly, I couldn't do this without her. And she's the softie.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, and I truly believe
it's good to have a balance.
It is.
It's good to have a balance.
I truly believe that the vast majority of people were not born to be a part of the criminal justice system. I really, as a defense attorney, I noticed pretty quickly that the people behind the offenses were the ones that needed the most assistance. Being a strong defense attorney means you have to see the people you're representing. And mitigation became important. Helping them become productive citizens is important. If they didn't do those things, they simply were going to just circle back in again, and they weren't born to be there. I think people are born with purpose, that they have something to do that nobody else can do, and they can't do that in the criminal justice system. And so the fact that that was the way I truly believed and the way I practiced law, and the fact that Judge Hill saw that, and that this program kind of worked out together, that we could be a part of it, and I was honored to be allowed to be even a small part of this very big program. And
because,
so it's made...
Go ahead.
It's just changed the way I practice.
Because the ultimate goal is to reduce recidivism.
Of course.
We just don't want them back in our system. We want them out in our community being productive.
Yes.
And it saves the county money, and it saves our communities. And it saves them individually. But ultimately, it's reducing recidivism.
Absolutely.
While giving second chances.
Absolutely, because we provide resources to help them pick up the mantle of their responsibility. Because we all have a mantle of responsibility. That's what we do. We weren't born to just take from the community. We're born to give back to the community, much like Daniel's doing. And so that makes a huge difference, that we are helping these young men and women see that they get to believe in themselves, that they believe in the purpose, and they believe in moving forward and becoming the people they were born to be.
And they do give back. We make them do community service, along with doing monthly assignments, reading assignments, public speaking. We try to cover as much as we can.
What great things to have them do, because that contributes to who they are.
Correct.
Being comfortable in front of a crowd.
That's exactly right.
Speaking,
Absolutely.
being well read is a very good thing.
Exactly.
I love that. I think there's just so many good things coming out of this conversation today, but there may be even one that is the biggest yet. And a Second Chance Community Foundation is something that Daniel's had a vision for quite some time. And y'all talked about giving people second chances. So, Daniel, I feel like you've got something you want to say.
Yeah, no, just something real quick. First of all, Judge Hill, thank you so much for everything that you do. But as long as Judge Hill's giving out second chances, I'm all in. So on behalf of the A Second Chance Community Foundation, I wanted to present a check to you today for the Excel Restorative Court in the amount of $10,000 to help towards that. And so thank you.
Wow.
And that is absolutely amazing. I know Judge cannot solicit any kinds of funds, but we actually do have a nonprofit set up, because this program has been unfunded for the past four years, and we finally have a nonprofit up and running at the Excel Restorative Program LLC. Incorporated, and we are so graciously accepting that check on behalf of Excel Restorative Court. The nonprofit is up and running, and we're here to make sure the kids have transportation, they have access to computers, they have access to getting where they need to be, getting libraries set up in their homes, and moving forward with their lives. And so that is going to make a huge difference in our program. So thank you so very much, Daniel.
Gosh, I love it.
Yeah,
I can't wait to smile off my face.
Listen, I sat through the graduation. It's incredible. If you don't know about it, read about it, go learn about it. It's incredible. And I'm looking forward to this year's graduation.
It's going to be great.
Yes, and we always welcome the community to come sit in and watch.
And
just watch a session.
Come down.
Because oftentimes we get mentors from that, and I like to make sure we pair our participants with a mentor, so that when they get all these great resources from us, they have someone that they can bounce things off of when it's all over. So
I love it.
This is such
It's a gift
that is so well appreciated, and we could not thank you enough.
Well, thank you guys, because we look forward to being more so beyond the financial contribution, but actually taking a hand and helping be a part of this solution. It's really cool what you guys are doing.
It's an amazing day here at Justice Unfiltered. First time we've ever done that. So
first time, yeah.
I feel like we're hitting home runs all over the place since we're at the ballpark. Might as well. Jeanette, thank you.
I have to thank you.
Judge, thank you, ma'am,
Thank
for
you
being
all.
here and taking
Thank
the
you.
time.
This has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
And Daniel, obviously, thank you, man,
Thank you
for
so
what
much,
you're doing
Daniel.
and the show, for doing the show and everything y'all do at A Second Chance. That'll do it for us. More smiles next week here on Extra 106.30.
This is an Extra 106.3 podcast. To hear more live and local content like this, tune into 106.3 FM or download the Extra 106.3 app.